Ben saying, what accomplishments have you had? That's a great question because we have so many testimonials, so many accomplishments that I could go from now to 9:30 when I wrap it up talking about those. But how about just very quickly for you? Very quickly for you. How about reuniting family members? How about, well, you say that's a little intangible. How about reuniting? How about people improving? How about people getting promotions because of their improved self-worth, self-identity? How about people even improving physically as a consequence? How about this? Inoculating children so that the white children are coming to their parents and saying, Mom, Dad, this is anti-white, I just saw. And then the parents go look and they say, oh my God, that is anti-white. How about that? Do you know the value of inoculating white children against anti-whiteism? How about this? Maybe that's not enough. How about this? White worker at a store is slandered as a racist by anti-white blacks. The management and the union going to come down on the worker. Worker has shared some ideas from Go Free. She uses those concepts in the conversation with the employment and the union. The union decides to defend the white woman called a racist by the black anti-whites. Normally the kind of thing that get people in a lot of trouble. How about this? Maybe that's not enough. Maybe you're saying, you know what? That's not even enough. How about this? How about iHeartMedia runs a news item where they show an image on the news item of a white little boy beating up another white child on a school bus. And then they share the story. And in reality, in the story, it was a black teenager who beat up like a 7-year-old white girl on the school bus. I reached out. I shared all of the conversation with this major international media platform. Shared the conversation of with iHeartMedia. What happened? iHeartMedia the very next day changed the image to a generic school bus image. Have you ever manipulated anti-white media, mainstream media? I think not. You know what? We've done that not only in English-speaking Western countries, but in other languages as well across the West. We've accomplished that. We've manipulated. Well, we just had the biggest conservative news website in, what country was it? It wasn't Finland, was it? And they just started using our lexicon as a consequence of us promulgating the concepts in the comments under their articles. Could you have gotten the number one conservative news site in that country to slander Jews because you're in there saying how all the Jews are evil? How about this? Maybe you say that's not enough. Jason, that's not enough. Well, how about in Aurora? The police department there, they had a little policy of showing, like everybody else, these images, generic images for arrests on their social media. And there was an arrest of a rapist in town, and the image they used was of a white guy's hands in handcuffs. But the real rapist was a black guy. So one of our new members of the community, newer members at the time, said she was going to reach out to this police department. She's even able to share her name and everything with the police department because she's a concerned, normal white person. And everything she had to say was something that normal white people are going to look at and say, you know what, there's a point being made there. And she took a look at how I had handled iHeartMedia, and she asked a couple questions, and she looked through the strategy of Go Free, the book, and she went to messaging this police department, and the police department put her in touch with the person in charge, and they had a back and forth a couple times with a couple of emails about how it's really anti-white to do this. And you know what ended up happening? They changed the policy at that police department. They changed the policy, and they will no longer use these generic images for arrests, no longer condemning white people, no longer maligning white people, no longer projecting the notion to the world that all the criminals are white, when in reality, that's not the people they were arresting. That's kind of a big thing. You know what else is big about it? Is that all of that we're doing is replicable and scalable. How about that? How about that being done at every police department? Maybe you think, Jason, that's not enough. More has to be done. I don't really even care about it. That's not enough. Well, how about this? A mother in Canada, anti-white Canada, who has a divorce and has to share a child back and forth with the child's father. Well, the father finds out about Go Free. Can you believe it? Decides he's not returning that kid to this mother. They care about the white race at that household. They must be Nazis and white supremacists and everything. Well, they go to court, a Canadian family court, much worse than even an awful American family court. What happens there? Go Free gets submitted. The authorities take a look. What's the conclusion? The little boy can go back to mom. There's no threat to the child from Go Free. So I anticipate that no one with any sense is going to ask again, what are your accomplishments? Because we can keep going talking about our achievements. The real question is, what are your accomplishments, right? Because the schmuckery, the non-white, the anti-Jew garbage, and the cuckery, the abstractions, never talking about the victimization of the white race, have been in place for generations. They've been in place in Western countries that were 100% white or almost 100% white, and they have still failed, with white populations infinitely healthier than the white population today. So don't ask me again, what have you accomplished, when you all haven't done shit? You are the reason the West looks like this today. So tell me what you have accomplished. Kings, unreal. Unreal. Well, what have you done? Coming out of the mouths of people who haven't done shit. But he's got a bigger audience. Hey, if I got an OnlyFans and start getting naked, I would have an infinitely larger audience. Let me just tell you that right now. Let me just tell you a lot of other bigger things as well, my friend. I would have an infinitely larger audience. So we're not playing, though, to the lowest common denominator. I'm not bringing people in. I don't want to bring people in because they're going to have their hatred for some other group of humanity satisfied by me prosecuting a case against that people better than they personally can, which is what people like Fuentes do. If you need that kind of help, get a fucking therapist. Christ almighty. All right. So there's one of the pecker suckers of Fuentes, and this is what Fuentes wants his audience to do. Private Pirate is over there saying in the live chat right now, this is what they do. This is what his followers do. Nick Fuentes has done more for the pro-white movement than you ever will. When Fuentes has done zero for the pro-white movement. Zero. You know, I've done so much for actual white people that there are 2 babies named after me. And I'm not a rock star. I'm not a political star, a politician on the stage. I'm not a family member or a relative. People have named 2 children after me for all that we have achieved for white people, improving the lives of white people. So he's done zero. You're just a midget probably. And I will challenge you right now. Tag me as No White Guilt. Tell me what Fuentes has done for white people. Specifically for white people. I want to hear it. Both my children now point out anti-whiteism, says the Westman. They see in the world and online in entertainment. Thank you for sharing that. Those are lives. Those are little white babies that are getting inoculated to anti-whiteism in the world. Their lives are going to be better for it. Not the abstraction of white people, actual beautiful white babies. Could they go to school and talk about anti-whiteism? Absolutely. We had, among our victories that I was listing earlier, there are so many others that we could just go on. And like I said, we could go to 9:30 just talking about that alone. Talking about school, though, could they go to school? How about this? A woman in the community got a book that she was supposed to read to her very young son for him to do a book report on from the public school. The book was rabidly anti-white. She called up the teacher. She wanted a meeting. She went and met with the teacher. She asked me ahead of time, what kind of things might I say there, in addition to what she had already learned by going free? She went there to meet with the teacher. The principal was also present. She sat down with the both of them and showed in the book how the book injured her son's identity as a little white boy. She went page by page with them. You know what the teacher and the principal said? My God, it is anti-white. You know what else happened? The teacher said, I'm taking this book out of the curriculum. This is at a public school. All of this is replicable and scalable. She took the book out of the curriculum. What does that mean for all of the white children in the class and all of her classes to come? Year after year, they won't be exposed to that anti-white book. Now that she can see what's anti-white, to whatever degree, might she see it in more of the curriculum? Might she take more of anti-whiteism out of what she teaches these white children? Those are real people. Those are real babies. That's real work being done with love, hope, and redemption. What if you had gone to that school and said, my problem with this book is that the author is a Jew and the printing house here, it says here in the bottom of this book, the printing house is also owned by a Jew. Let me tell you about printing houses owned by Jews. Well, geez, let me tell you about the Maxwell family. We'll talk about them for a while and all the work that they did printing up school books for white children in America. And let me tell you the name of a Jew doing the same thing in Canada. And you know what would happen? That teacher would call Child Protective Services. And that principal would speak with the Child Protective Services as a witness of how you are a danger to your child. People know this. So you know what? They're not going to call the teacher as a white well-being activist did. They're going to walk around their house cussing Jews in front of their child. Over time, their child will associate your rage with this anti-Jew, anti-non-white, anti-black sentiments. The child will be at school learning that such people are angry, that they are unhinged, and they will see that in you. And then your child will hate you. And then you'll comfort yourself saying it's natural rebellion. That's what's supposed to happen. White children are supposed to hate their white parents, right? Which path, white man, white woman, which path will you take? Which one is white positive? Which one benefits white people, white children, actual white folk? Sick of it. Thank you for mentioning that, brother.